Cameras were live. Cyndi Lauper's voice trembled. Her eyes filled with tears. And a voice from the back of the studio stopped her completely. It was March 2024. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Studio 6A at Rockefeller Center in New York City. Another Thursday night taping. Another celebrity musical performance. Another 300 audience members expecting entertainment and laughter, and maybe a viral moment to share on social media. Cyndi Lauper was there to perform her classic hit, Time After Time. The song that had defined a generation. The song that had launched her into superstardom 40 years earlier. The song she performed hundreds, maybe thousands of times across decades of concerts and television appearances. It was supposed to be routine. Safe. Nostalgic. A celebration of an iconic career. The Roots started the familiar opening notes. The studio lights dimmed slightly, creating that intimate concert atmosphere. Cyndi stood at the microphone center stage in one of her signature colorful outfits, vibrant patterns, bold colors, her blonde hair streaked with pink and purple. At 70 years old, she still commanded a stage like few others could. Jimmy sat behind his desk, smiling, already tapping his foot to the rhythm. The audience swayed gently. Cameras glided smoothly on their tracks. Cyndi began to sing. Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you. Her voice was still powerful, still carrying that unique quality that had made Time After Time timeless. The audience was already pulling out phones, already recording, already anticipating sharing this performance. Caught up in circles, confusion is nothing new. Cyndi's eyes were closed, lost in the music the way performers do when a song becomes automatic, when muscle memory takes over and you're somewhere else entirely. Flashback, warm nights, almost left behind. And then, from somewhere near the back entrance of Studio 6A, a voice joined hers. Not loud. Not shouting. Just singing along, quietly, the harmony line that most people don't know exists in the song. Suitcase of memories, time after. Cyndi's voice cracked. Her eyes snapped open. The microphone wavered in her hand. Cameras were live when Cyndi Lauper's voice trembled, her eyes filled with tears, and a voice from the back of the studio stopped her completely. The singing stopped. The microphone slipped from Cyndi's fingers, caught only by the cable, swinging loosely at her side. Her hand moved to her chest. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. The Roots kept playing for 2 more measures before Questlove noticed something was wrong and signaled the band to stop. The music died awkwardly, trailing off in confusion. Jimmy's smile vanished. His blue cue card scattered across his desk as he stood up abruptly, genuine concern flooding his face. Cyndi? Are you okay? The audience fell into uncertain silence. 300 people looking at each other, wondering if this was part of the show, wondering if something was wrong, wondering why Cyndi Lauper was standing frozen at the microphone with tears streaming down her face. Cyndi turned slowly toward the back of the studio. Her entire body was shaking. That voice, she whispered, and the studio microphones caught it, broadcast it to millions watching at home. That can't be. Near the back entrance, standing in the shadows beyond the main studio lights, was a woman in her late 60s. Simple clothing. Gray hair pulled back. Hands clasped in front of her, tears on her own face. Jimmy walked out from behind his desk. He'd done this thousands of times, moved across the studio, engaged with guests, kept shows flowing. But this was different. This wasn't scripted. This was something real breaking through the television veneer. Cyndi, Jimmy said gently, now standing beside her. What's happening? Do you know that person? Cyndi couldn't take her eyes off the woman at the back of the studio. Ellen? Her voice broke on the name. Ellen, is that really you? The woman nodded, unable to speak. Jimmy stopped mid-show. The entire studio froze. To understand what happened next, you need to understand what happened 42 years earlier. Cyndi Lauper wasn't always Cyndi Lauper, Grammy-winning icon and pop culture legend. In 1982, she was Cynthia, a struggling singer in New York City, working retail jobs to pay rent, performing in small clubs for tiny audiences, wondering if her dream of making it in music would ever become reality. She was also 29 years old and terrified she was running out of time. She'd been working with a vocal coach named Ellen Morrison. Not a famous coach. Not someone with a studio full of celebrity clients. Just a woman who taught singing out of a small room in a Queens apartment building, who charged $20 for a lesson, who believed in students everyone else had given up on. Ellen had seen something in Cyndi from their first session. A unique quality in her voice, that distinctive tone that would eventually make her famous, but in 1982 just made her sound different, in a city full of singers trying to sound like everyone else. "Don't change your voice," Ellen would say, stopping Cyndi mid-song, making her start over. "Everyone's going to tell you to sound more conventional, more radio-friendly. Don't listen to them. Your voice is special because it's yours." They worked together for 18 months. Twice a week, every week, in that small Queens studio that smelled like coffee and old sheet music. Ellen taught Cyndi breath control, phrasing, how to protect her voice. But more importantly, she taught her to trust the thing that made her different. "You're going to be famous," Ellen would say with absolute conviction. "Not because you sound like everyone else. Because you don't." Cyndi was working on a demo tape. Time after time. A song she'd co-written, a song she believed in but wasn't sure anyone else would understand. She'd been rejected by record labels. Told her voice was too unusual. Told she was too old to be starting a pop career. Told to give up and get a real job. Ellen made her sing. Time after time. 47 times in one session. Over and over, adjusting tiny details, pushing Cyndi to find the emotional core of the song. "This is the one," Ellen said when they finally got the take that would end up on the demo. "This is the song that changes everything. I can feel it." 3 weeks later, Cyndi got a call. A small record label wanted to sign her. They'd heard the demo. They loved. Time after time. They wanted to produce a full album. Cyndi was ecstatic. She called Ellen immediately, talking so fast she could barely get the words out. "You were right. You were right. They want to sign me. This is really happening. I told you," Ellen said, and Cyndi could hear the smile in her voice. "Now go show the world what I already knew." The album came out in 1983. Time after time. Was released as a single in 1984. It went to #1. The album went multi-platinum. Cyndi Lauper became a household name seemingly overnight. She tried to call Ellen to tell her the news, to thank her, to invite her to the celebration. The number was disconnected. Cyndi went to the Queens apartment building. The small studio was empty. The landlord said Ellen had moved out 3 months earlier, left no forwarding address, paid her final rent in cash and disappeared. Cyndi hired people to find her. Private investigators. Skip tracers. She wanted to thank Ellen properly, to give her tickets to shows, to share the success they built together. But Ellen Morrison had vanished completely. No social media presence. No public records. Nothing. For 42 years, Cyndi had wondered what happened to the woman who believed in her when no one else did. She'd sung. Time after time. Thousands of times, and every single time, she thought about Ellen in that small Queens studio saying, "This is the one that changes everything." And now Ellen was standing at the back of Studio 6A, having somehow gotten a ticket to The Tonight Show, having waited 42 years to hear her students sing that song one more time. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. Jimmy stood beside Cyndi on stage, his hand on her shoulder, watching this reunion unfold in real time on live television. The producers were screaming in his earpiece, asking what was happening, whether to cut to commercial, whether this was planned. Jimmy reached up and pulled the earpiece out. He dropped it on the stage floor. The studio audience was silent. Questlove had tears on his face. The camera operators kept filming because no one had told them to stop, and they understood they were witnessing something extraordinary. "Ellen," Cyndi said again, her voice stronger now. Why did you? The woman at the back of the studio took a tentative step forward into the light. "I've been at every major performance you've ever done in New York," she said, her voice quiet but carrying in the silent studio. "In the back. In the cheap seats. I've been there. I never wanted to disrupt your life. You became everything I knew you would be. I didn't need credit. I just needed to see you succeed. Why didn't you tell me?" Cyndi asked, and now she was moving, walking off the stage, heading toward the back of the studio. "Why didn't you let me thank you?" "Because you don't owe me anything," Ellen said. "I was your teacher. You were my student. You did the work. You took the risk. You became Cyndi Lauper. I just helped you find your voice." Behind the scenes, Jimmy made a decision that defied every producer's expectation. Jimmy walked to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out something unexpected. His personal notepad, the one he kept for writing thank you notes to guests. He walked quickly to where Cyndi and Ellen now stood embracing in the aisle between audience sections, 300 strangers crying as they watched two women reunite after 4 decades. "Ellen," Jimmy said gently, "I don't know your full story yet, but I know what you did for Cyndi. And I think the world needs to hear it." He turned to his stage manager. "Clear the guest chairs. Bring out a third one." The production crew scrambled. Within 90 seconds there were 3 chairs arranged on the Tonight Show stage, Jimmy's usual spot, and 2 chairs facing him where guests normally sat. "Cyndi, Ellen," Jimmy said, "will you both sit with me? Will you tell us this story properly?" Cyndi looked at Ellen, who looked terrified. "I'm not. I'm just a voice teacher. I can't be on television." "You already are," Cyndi said softly, gesturing to the cameras. "And I've wanted to thank you on camera for 42 years. Please." They sat. 3 chairs on the Tonight Show stage. The audience settled into reverent silence. Jimmy sat forward, his notepad in his lap, and asked Ellen simply, "Tell us about teaching Cyndi." What followed was 23 minutes of unscripted television that would be replayed millions of times. Ellen told the story of the small Queen studio. Cyndi told the story of being rejected by label after label. Ellen revealed she'd left New York because she'd gotten sick, cancer, she'd beaten it, but the treatment had cost everything she had and she'd been too proud to ask her former student for help. "I didn't want you to feel obligated," Ellen said. "You were becoming famous. You had your own life. I didn't want to be the person who showed up asking for money." Cyndi was crying openly. "You saved my career. You gave me everything. And you've been sitting in the back of my concerts for 40 years and I never knew?" "I didn't need you to know," Ellen said. "I just needed to see you shine." Jimmy handed Cyndi his notepad. "Write down everything you want to say to her. Right now. Don't wait another 42 years. Cyndi took the pen with shaking hands and wrote 3 words. "You saved me." She handed the notepad to Ellen, who read it and pulled Cyndi into an embrace that lasted 30 seconds of live television. The audience rose. Standing ovation. Not the performative kind. The kind that happens when people witness grace. Jimmy stood too, wiping his eyes. "Ellen, that notepad is yours to keep. So Cyndi's words stay with you forever." Then Jimmy made one more decision. "Cyndi, will you sing it again? With Ellen here? Properly this time?" The Roots started the opening notes. Cyndi stood at the microphone, Ellen beside her. And when Cyndi reached the second verse, Ellen sang the harmony line she taught her student 42 years ago in a small Queens studio. Share and subscribe. Make sure this story is never forgotten. After the show, Jimmy connected Ellen with his own team. Medical bills were paid. A small apartment secured. Ellen never asked. Cyndi insisted. The notepad with those 3 words, "You saved me," sits in Ellen's living room, framed beside a photo of that night. And every time Cyndi performs, time after time, Ellen is there. Not in the back anymore. Front row. Where she always belonged.